Oi, oi, let's do this thing. Right, how's it going? Right, look at this photo, man. It's not very nice whatsoever, is it? Not good enough to post on Instagram. I wouldn't put this up, obviously, like this. I think what I was thinking here is there was quite a good sunset going on in between these buildings, backlighting them, looked really good. But I just took this as kind of a quick opportunist snap. It would have looked better if maybe there was some sort of action in the foreground here or something. And as you can see, there's buildings on the side up here and on the right that are just kind of not lending anything to this photo. But let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can make it better. Let's see if we can make it at least good enough to go on Instagram. We're probably not going to make it good enough to sell many prints or anything, but we'll give it a go. And I think it's good to see what kind of photographers' photos look like before the editing's taken place. I think there's a bit of a kind of idea that straight away photos look great out of the camera. Mine definitely don't. I'm always shooting with the edit in mind. I always know that I'm going to do a lot of post-processing with them, so I take a lot of things into account. Here, mainly, the main thing was to make sure that I didn't blow out the sky here, because there's actually a lot of colour in this. You just can't see it at the moment. So let's see what we can do to improve this. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to recrop it. I want it to be for Instagram, so I'm going to go by the 8x10. And it's good to look at the kind of inner square on this, because that's how Instagram is going to display it in your feed. So you want to kind of keep most of the information within that square. You don't want things kind of poking out over that square, because it won't look very good when it's actually on the feed. So I'm just going to try and get the building here, as much of the building as possible. Fortunately you can do this because I think it was a 24 megapixel camera, and obviously on Instagram it gives you a lot of leeway for cropping in. So I'm going to take all the buildings out, go with something like that. And then next thing I'm going to do is go down to the lens corrections and just turn them both on, so we know exactly what we're working with, and there's no changes when we get down to the bottom, and then click those and find that everything shifts around a little bit. Right, so first thing is obviously it was a sunset, so it's much warmer than this. I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow, orange into the image, warm it up a bit. And then I'm going to take the highlights and I'm going to bring them right down, and I'm going to take the shadows and I'm going to bring them right up, and then I'm going to grab the white point and the option key or alt key, and then I'm going to pull that over until you can start to see what's being clipped there, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the blacks but the other way, and you can add a little bit more black to the image. Right, so you can already see that that's quite a good improvement on what we had before, just in terms of opening it up and giving the most dynamic range in the file. So this is a good starting point to then kind of carry on and make all your adjustments. So it's just a case of going through things basically. So I'm going to add a bit more vibrance and a bit more saturation, because I think you can go really saturated with this image. As I said, it was a very kind of intense sunset, so we can take that into account. I'm going to add some more contrast back in with the tone curve, only a little tiny bit, but we're just going to lift the black point up just so we get a tiny fade in there, not much. Bring down the blacks there, and then in the middle we're going to open them up a bit more, bring back in some contrast. So nothing extreme. You don't really want to go extreme with any of the sliders or the tone curve or anything. You can, when you're first starting out, you think, oh yeah, I'm just going to whack these right up to the most extreme level possible, and it doesn't really help. You just want to kind of keep things nice and subtle. Let's go on to the hue. I'm going to take the blues towards the aquas a bit more. I'm going to take the aquas towards the blues a little bit more. Again, I'm keeping these kind of quite subtle changes really. Yellows towards the orange, orange a bit more orange, and then the reds a bit more orange, to really kind of bring out the orange, funny enough, in this picture. Let's see. And as all I do is just kind of work my way slowly through it. Let's add a a little bit of vignetting just to bring the attention into the middle of this picture. I think it's probably a little bit underexposed, so let's add a little bit more exposure to it just to brighten it up. It's looking alright. I'm not too bad. I'm not too disappointed with this so far. If you look at what it was before with the backslash key, quite disappointing, quite boring, quite bland. That's a lot better in my opinion. Do some local adjustments. I'm gonna make sure everything's set to neutral or 0 there, and then I'm gonna bring down the exposure a bit on this gradient filter. And I like to do this quite a lot because it gives a kind of nice weighted feel to the bottom of the image, and also there's nothing down here that's worth looking at. So I'm just gonna drag that up to bring us into the kind of center of the image. I'm going to create another new one, bring it down a little bit, add a little bit more saturation, and just do the same on the top to bring some blue back in the sky there. In fact, let's just take it up to the blue a little bit there, just to give it a nice kind of teal sky there. I think I'm probably quite happy with that. Maybe add a tiny bit more exposure. Actually bring it down slightly, and let's go into the brush. A little bit of exposure in there, and then I'm just going to dab that on in a couple of key places. And then lastly, I think I'm going to go on the brush, make a new one, bring that down, a little bit of orange, a little bit of saturation there, and I'm just going to increase that kind of sunset there so it looks like we're walking or looking down that street there to kind of nice golden light. So I'm quite happy with that. If you look at the before and then you look at the after, a big improvement. I mean, it's not the best photograph in the world, but it's definitely good enough for Instagram. I'd be happy putting that up on there. If I was going to do any more to this, I might take it into Photoshop, get rid of this manhole cover down here that's a bit distracting, get rid of this van here, and if I was feeling confident and I had a bit of time to do it, I might well try and take out this lamppost here, because it's just sort of kind of, it's just a distraction we don't need. It's in the middle there. Yeah, I wouldn't want that, and I might get rid of that plane as well, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's alright. Let's leave it there.